What is up, crypto crew, and welcome to my very first public YouTube video. Now, I've been educating in the crypto space for quite some time now, and especially with my DCXTRA online crypto community. However, the time has now come for me to pull the trigger and be able to put a little bit more longer form content that you might be used to seeing on my Instagram and now shift into the YouTube space. So thanks so much for following me across. I really appreciate your support. And so if you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, and if you want updates as well every single time that I upload a new video, then be sure to hit the notification icon as well. So in this video, I'm going to do a full market overview and go into some forward projecting as well. So let's get stuck straight into that. So first, let's start with a little bit of the news. Now, obviously last week, Black Friday, we did have the Omicron fears from the new variant of the coronavirus, which dropped the price not only in the crypto market, but in markets all across the world down to lower prices. Now, during that time, Bitcoin did get down to just over $53,000 US and has since recovered above 57 in that time. Now, it says here that the Asian markets are the first to rebound, and it has been 3 days since that news came out. And it seems as if, to be honest, it was more FUD than anything. People seem now to just be brushing it off and getting on with it. But as you know, we do need to be careful to see what happens with the whole coronavirus thing, because it seems to always give us that little bit of fear in the market and people tend to get a little bit scared. So moving on, you can see that the Bitcoin bears retreat as traders buy on the dips. So Bitcoin has rallied up quite a bit since that Black Friday sale and drop, and it seems as if strength is coming back into the market. Now, does this mean that we are back up into full send mode? Absolutely not, but we'll get into that a little bit later. Now, here's something very interesting to look at. We have got the New York Federal Reserve launching a fintech research wing. Now, this is very, very interesting because they are looking to build and test a new financial technology, including central bank digital currencies, stablecoins, and cross-border payments. So as we can see, the governments and big banks are starting to realize that they have been left out of the game and they are losing the stranglehold on the people that they so love, and so they are trying to now to diversify into the space to try and scramble back with whatever little bit of control they can get back. But in my mind, the writing is kind of on the wall for these guys, so that'll be very interesting to see how this develops. So let's get more specifically into the actual crypto market. We can see today that the fear and greed index has rebounded up to 40 from 33 yesterday, and it did actually hit down into a low of 21 late last week after that drop off, but we have recovered quite quickly. So if we move along and we actually have a look at the price of Bitcoin versus the fear and greed index, here we can see that generally when we do get very low values down towards the 20 and lower is when we get our much larger rallies here from Bitcoin. So for example, a really good one here, it seems like quite a timely example. This March 2020 was the COVID drop that happened last year. We can see that the fear and greed got all the way down to single digits. And then from that point, it has basically been nothing but up. So where we currently are sitting around the sort of, today we are 40. This isn't been updated just yet, but we're sitting around that 40. We are back around this mid value. So we're getting close to neutral again. Personally, I would like to see this drop down just a little bit more. And I'll show you exactly why I want to see that in a moment. So looking into the on-chain data, this is bullish news, guys. You can't ignore this. We've got the all exchanges reserve. So this is how much Bitcoin people are either leaving on the exchange or taking off exchanges for long-term storage. And you can see, regardless of all the price action that's been happening in the last, month or two, there's a very clear trend. It's coming down. People are storing their Bitcoin for the long term. For me, this is a very bullish sign, and it doesn't look like turning up anytime soon. If we go and look at the whale ratio, generally what we see, not 100% of the time, but generally is when we see a spike in the whale ratio, we see selling pressure and downwards movement in the price. Now we can see we did have a little bit of a spike of that the other day, and we did have a small movement down in price. However, it seems as if the whales games that they're playing are coming to an end and the whale ratio is coming back down. So again, another bullish sign, at least temporarily, until the whales get a little bit bored again. If we have a look at the leverage ratio, this is something that I believe is holding us back. So what I like to see is I like to see the leverage ratio below the Bitcoin price. So this purple blue line below the black price, and unfortunately it is above at the moment. Now with the washout over the weekend, we have seen the ratio come back down to meet the price, and it'll be very telling to see what this does in the next few days. One thing I have seen is plenty of experts out there in crypto land, including here on YouTube, who are talking about, you know, bought the dip, this is the dip, this is the bottom. That's the sort of mentality that is going to fuel this leverage to go back up and cause us to keep running on the spot for that little bit longer. And we combine that with the futures open interest. So this is simply how much people are leveraging in the futures market, either long or short. And again, what I really like to see is the leverage, the open interest ratio. I like to see that mirroring the price. And my concern here basically is that since the start of November, we've actually seen a divergence of these lines. They're actually moving further away. Now, that's something that I would like to see change. I would like to see the open interest come down. I would like to see less people doing futures trading and leverage trading in the market, and that's going to give us that nice little reset for momentum and volume that's going to allow us to bring things back up where we want to be and get this bull market really, really cranking. So talking of bull market, let's actually have a look and see if we can compare where we are now to where we've been in the past, because the past history of what's been happening in Bitcoin is the best way for us to predict about what's happening. So let's get stuck in and have a look. So here we're looking at a Bitcoin days since halving chart. Okay, so here we've got our 1, 2, 3, and 4 different halving dates that we've had so far. And what we can see here is basically every single cycle is getting longer. All right, so our very first cycle in Bitcoin is this light blue line. All right, you can see here that it was 861 days long. All right, we're moving on to the second one, 1,300, over 1,300 days. Moving on to our last one, over 1,400 days, and this is our current. We're only at 500. So if we're looking at this in terms of days since halving, we can see that every single cycle is getting longer. However, the amount that is growing by, according to this, is getting a little bit shorter. So if this is going to follow the same type of cycle pattern, then I would expect to see this purple line, this current one, continue out a lot longer. We should see, we've got peak 1, peak 2, peak 3. We should see a nice peak later on, and then an extended cycle from start to finish. So if we actually have a look at the performance since that market top, then what we can actually see here is that in the first one, right, we had 324 days since the market top. Our second cycle, we had 904 since the market top. Our last cycle, 1477. Okay, and we're not even at that yet with this current cycle. So you can see that each of these cycles have a slower build-up period before they boom. Same with our red one, slower period here and then boom. Our orange one, slow and longer and then boom. And then this purple one, again, that's our current cycle following the same pattern. So we should expect to see, you know, something way I would expect over the 2,000 days for the performance since the market top to finally finish out. If we're looking at the price growth since cycle low, all right, again, we can see here that we've had a huge, huge growth, right? 325 days in our first one to hit our peak. In our second one, 747 days. In our third, 1,067. And we are only just ahead of that now. So what I expect to see is we haven't seen a peak. We have not seen a peak here in 2021, and it looks as if we could be extending, considering that we are just about in December of 2021. It seems as if we are actually going to get a Bitcoin cycle peak in early to mid 2022, and then go into this sort of bearish market drop off that we would normally expect to see. So again, we've got all bullish signals across this whole market. There's really no denying that we are still on our way up. And then finally, another way that people love to look at it is using the golden ratio. Now, what we can actually see here, okay, is our very first cycle from bottom to top. All right, we were actually looking at a 21x from bottom to top. Absolutely insane. All right, from our next cycle here, 2013, we're looking at a 13x. All right, even further again, very close again to a 13x. When we go to 2017, all right, we're then looking at about an 8x, which is not bad at all. And then currently, again, we have not made that high, not even close. And if we're looking anywhere between sort of a 5 and a 3x, okay, then even if we're looking at a 3x, we're still looking over 130K. If we are looking up to the 5x, we're looking well over 225K. So you can see that we've got some very, very bullish signs happening, and there's even more if we actually get stuck into the charts. So looking at the actual charts themselves, here I've got the 1 week crypto total market cap, and we can see that we are moving up in a very simple ascending channel. It's following that pattern really, really well. And what we're finding is that each top that it is making, it is traveling down, breaking above, using it as support. It makes a top, moving up, breaking down, using it as support. Okay, and then here we've got a top. We're actually breaking down at the moment, and it looks as if we want to use this as support as well. So good signs, still very, very bullish. When we see resistance flipped into support, then we would expect to see this hold along with the bottom of this channel, and total crypto market cap will come up. Now, again, this is the weekly time frame. So if it doesn't happen on this particular candle, then we're looking within the first week or two of December for that really bullish action to come across. So if we look at the total too, and we take Bitcoin out of the equation, then what we can see, again, very, very similar pattern, ascending channel. We've got support that we keep, resistance here from previous top that we use as support once. We've done it twice, and we seem to be doing it a third time. So again, more bullish signs. Once again, we're on the weekly time frame. So this one seems to be even closer to that particular bottom level of that channel. So to me, this looks like we've definitely got, some action going on in the alts within the next week to 2 weeks at the absolute latest. So if we go and actually have a look at what's happening with the US dollar, we can see that the US dollar has been rallying lately. And as we can see, we've seen that, we've felt that in crypto land, because crypto has been quite a bit slower than many people have expected. Now, a really positive sign that I've seen here is that we have come up and we have been rejected very, very well from this level of resistance, and we seem to be moving down, at least for now. So what I would probably expect to see from the US dollar, unless there are some major changes on the policy front or global economic front, I mean, we did have some very negative inflation news that came out not too long ago. So what I would expect to see is this continue back down and have a retest of support and potentially this trend line as well. So time will tell. We are still quite a way away from that one. Moving across to Bitcoin dominance. Now, as we can see, Bitcoin dominance has been moving along in this triangle pattern for quite some time, which it has recently dropped. It's been testing support and sort of holding, not really holding, not very convincing at the moment. And it is, as we can see, hanging out at the bottom of that support area at the moment. So I would expect to see our Bitcoin dominance come down over the next week or two. Moving on to our Ethereum dominance, we can see that we are moving in this huge pennant pattern. We have had a cup and handle breakout, and we have retested the top of that pennant and moving away very, very strongly. So the Ethereum dominance is a good way of looking at the strength of the alts and Ethereum as well, of course. And as we can see, the alts are showing way more strength at this point in time. We do have to be careful, however, just for the simple fact that all it takes sometimes is for Bitcoin to sneeze a little bit and the whole market gets cold. So moving on to Bitcoin, let's actually have a look to see what we see. And again, I'm on the daily time frame here. So moving from the top of the screen down to the bottom, what I can see is our RSI has sort of come up towards the midline and seem to have a little bit of a rejection. If we actually have a look and have a look at this sort of trend that we've got, this downtrend happening in our RSI, we are yet to test and break through that. So for me, we're kind of hanging around in no man's land at the moment with Bitcoin. We can see that we have come down for a quick retest of the top of the range from our September highs, and also a test on our daily trend line, and quite a strong bounce, I must say, from that. However, I do see us probably coming down and maybe testing that once more. If we're looking at what's happening in terms of momentum, we can see that our MACD and our momentum waves and stochastic RSI here on the daily are all turning upwards. So look, bullish signs. I think it's just a matter of, like I was saying a little bit earlier, we still do have a little bit of time to go. If we drag this down onto a smaller time frame, then it gives us a little bit more information about what we can expect. We can see here on the 4-hour time frame that our RSI has started to come back down, and we are slowly moving back down towards that sort of trend line and a possible support test as well. We've got momentum starting to come back down along with stochastic RSI, and our MACD seems to be, at least for now, running out of steam. So as I mentioned earlier, I do expect this to come down at least to the sort of 55 to 54 range over the next day or so, test these lower levels, pick up a little bit of further liquidity, and possibly move up from there. It is definitely possible that we do move down to the lower end of this support range, you know, down into the early 50,000, possibly even to the 49,000 range as well. Time will tell, but it's just a simple matter of having a look to see what is on the cards and taking what the market gives us now. All right, so once again, this is one of my own predictions when it comes to moving forward. Now, this is the BLX chart. This is basically the growth of Bitcoin over time. And as you can see, it has grown just exponentially, absolutely insane growth. Now, if we actually have a look at times between cycle tops, what we can see is that they are increasing. And so if we even use the fib time from peak to peak, what we can also see is that the 2.618 is also a very, very interesting point in time where we look at from peak to peak. Okay, so here I've simply run a fib time from this peak to this peak. This gives us a 2.618, which lines up perfectly with the 2017. Once again, we go 2013 to 2017. We've got a 2.618 all the way out here in June 2024, which is absolutely massive. Now, do I expect that we keep on running up until June 2024? Probably not. Probably not. For me, that seems a little bit far-fetched, but at least into 2022, at least. So here, this is the 2-week time frame, and here on the fib time here at the 2 level, we can see that coming around the 6th of December is where I expect to see some sort of change in direction. So, you know, probably maybe not this week, but next week, once we hit onto this 2 line, I do expect to see a change of direction and some more upwards movement from there, and basically just following the top of this line as best we can, you know. And you can see if this is quite a conservative target here for me, but I do believe in the lengthening cycle, and it's very obvious to see it here. For me, I do see a cycle top for this particular one in 2022, sort of around April to May. So if that is the case, you know, then we're potentially, according to this one, looking at around that sort of just under 100,000. However, there are quite a few other predictions that I have put out there in the past, which do dictate, you know, well over 100,000, and some of them, you know, well over 200,000 as well. So it's one of those things, guys, where it just comes to when we are predicting what we could potentially see in the future, it's a matter of looking at the past and coming up with the most likely scenarios, of which there could be many. So as you can see, guys, there is a lot going on in crypto land. There is always news, both good and bad, or FUD as we like to call it. And the key is to know what to actually take in and what to block out. There is so much noise in this crypto space, and it's really, really important that you don't get lost in it and that you don't get stuck with analysis paralysis, because it seems as if everybody is an expert. And that's why I do what I do. My plan is to reach and teach as many of you wonderful people as I possibly can, at least about what I know about crypto, and I do hope that you do find the information valuable. So thanks so much for watching, guys. If you like this video, please press the like button, subscribe to the channel, and of course, if you want to see further updates, then make sure you hit that notification icon as well. And I look forward to seeing you next week.